And on to another issue that arouses strong emotions, the question of divorce and property settlements. Former Family Court Judge Justice Elizabeth Evatt has called on the federal government to change the law to help women who lose out in the career stakes because they've been at home rearing children. Justice Evatt, now President of the Law Reform Commission, agreed to debate the issue with Ian Monk of the Family Law Reform Group. Justice Evatt, if I could come to you first, how would you propose to put a price on women's work?
It's not so much of putting a price on it, but of valuing it and giving it equal value to the work of men. What we're saying really is that marriage is for better, for worse. Husband and wife may contribute to marriage in different ways, or in the same way, it doesn't matter. What we say in these recommendations is that no matter how a husband or wife contribute to their marriage, what they do should be given an equal value as a contribution to that marriage, whether it's in cash or whether it's in kind.
In the event of divorce settlements, though, it must come down to a quantum. It must come down to a money figure.
If you're dividing property, because property is reflected in money's worth, and you divide it in terms of money's worth. But the way you divide it, to me, and in the recommendations of the Commission, should reflect the fact that each party's contribution to their marriage should be seen as of equal value.
You say that the devaluation of women's work is reflected not only in the lower earnings, lack of flexible hours and inadequate childcare in the workplace, but also in property laws which, especially on divorce, put women at a disadvantage.
Yes, that's right.
But isn't it the case that in property settlements the women are advantaged, and rightly so?
It's in that area, of course, that women generally come out with more disadvantage than men. That's because at the end of the marriage the man goes away with his earning capacity intact, maybe even enhanced. And within a year or two perhaps he's in a very good, sound financial position. The woman walks out of the marriage with her earning capacity often much diminished.
Ian Monk, can I bring you in here? Any argument with that?
The call at the grassroots level from men is such that they are not getting a fair deal property-wise. I challenge Justice Evatt to name 3 groups of women who have been through the family court and saying that they're not getting a fair deal. I don't believe she can name one.
Justice Evatt?
Well, I'm not talking about factions and groups. I'm talking about a law which now requires individual assessment of parties and their contribution, which I think is invidious for men as well as for women. It's invidious for both. There's no way to look at it, in my opinion, other than to see the contribution of each spouse to the marriage as of equal value. The Institute of Family Studies carried out surveys which showed very clearly that after marriage, no matter whether the woman got a greater share of the property or not, most women were seriously disadvantaged and down towards the poverty line or below it after marriage, whereas the men predominantly were, after a year or two, in a very sound position and didn't take that dip into poverty that the women were taking. The facts are pretty clear.
Mr. Monk?
Well, I think essentially what this debate does highlight is that there is dramatically different points of view as to why the family court is failing.
Well, now, do you acknowledge Justice Evatt's point, though, about the inequality that is there, that the women aren't able to get back into the workforce?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all. The women don't have to make any contribution as far as maintenance is concerned. You know, whereas maintenance should be shared by both parties, and that seems to be the philosophy underlying what Justice Evatt is saying. If we had joint custody, which is another thing that we should have, then there would be not any of this tampering with property arrangements. And going back to the property business, we should not have a business of sharing up property 50-50. If one party brings into the marriage an asset and then the marriage breaks down, that party, he or she, should take that asset with them.
Justice Evatt, what about the question of the maintenance payments to women?
Well, certainly. It's quite clear that both parents have equal responsibility to provide for the maintenance of the children, and the child support legislation now in force recognises that by bringing into account the income of both the custodial and the non-custodial parent in allocating maintenance. As to taking assets out of marriage that you bring into them, it's true now that men generally do take out the asset that they brought into the marriage, their earning capacity, and they take it out intact.
What are the prospects of your recommended reform actually getting into the statute book?
Well, I think that there's quite a lot of community support for it. The Institute of Family Studies research showed that people did regard their contributions as equal and felt that there should be a 50-50 split up. And I'm quite optimistic that it will go forward.
Are there international comparisons?
Oh yes, in many European countries the standard provision has been a sharing of the gains of the marriage, that's to say, a sharing of the property acquired during the marriage, 50-50. Yes, that's quite well recognised.
The sort of system I think we need is one that's a whole lot less stressful than the one that we have at the moment, so we don't get these horrible murders and suicides. We need a system that's less expensive for individuals that go through it, and we need a system that is less expensive for our country. And such a system would be mediation centres.
Justice Evatt, final word.
Of course I agree with that, and I do understand the pain and trauma that many people feel and the cost. Most people cannot simply afford to go to court these days.
Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.